There is a darkness within all of us, a part of ourselves we bury, deny, and fear. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the side of our psyche we refuse to face. But what happens when we stop running from it? What happens when the shadow takes control? Carl Gustav Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our psyche is divided. On the surface lies the persona, the mask we show the world. Beneath it, in the shadows, resides everything we suppress, our fears, desires, anger, and shame. Jung argued that ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it festers, influencing our thoughts and actions in ways we cannot control. Only by confronting it can we find true self-awareness. But for some, the shadow becomes their master. Born in 1960, Richard Ramirez seemed like an ordinary boy. But beneath the surface lurked a darkness that would later define him. Ramirez embraced his shadow fully, committing a series of brutal murders in the 1980s, leaving entire cities paralyzed with fear. Ramirez often claimed to be a servant of Satan. His journals revealed graphic fantasies of violence long before his killing spree began. Was his shadow innate, or did his abusive childhood and exposure to violence awaken it? In 1981, Issei Sagawa, a shy and intelligent Japanese man, killed and consumed a woman in Paris. His writings describe an obsessive, hidden part of himself, a craving he couldn't resist. Sagawa's journals provide a window into a mind overtaken by its shadow. He saw his act not as evil, but as fulfilling a part of himself he could no longer suppress. Katherine Knight seemed like an ordinary woman, until the night she murdered her partner, skinned him, and attempted to serve his remains as a meal. Knight's life was marked by violence and obsession, but her journals hint at a darkness she wrestled with long before her crime. Her shadow wasn't hidden. It had been growing unchecked for years. What causes someone's shadow to take over? Jung believed it begins with repression. Society teaches us to suppress thoughts and feelings deemed unacceptable. Over time, these suppressed aspects form the shadow, a dark twin lurking in our subconscious, and thus disease and decay are more often found. When we deny our shadow, we project it onto others. The hatred, fear, or anger we feel toward them is often a reflection of what we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. For some, the shadow grows too large to contain. Without self-awareness, it consumes them, leading to acts of unspeakable horror. The shadow isn't inherently evil. It holds creativity, passion, and raw truth. Shadow work involves identifying and accepting the darker parts of yourself. Through journaling, therapy, and introspection, you can turn your shadow into an ally rather than an enemy. Acknowledging your capacity for darkness makes you less likely to act on it. True strength lies in understanding your shadow without succumbing to it. Necessarily, we are content to fall into cycles of despair. The shadow is always with us, whispering from the depths. To deny it is to let it control you. To confront it is to reclaim your power. What does your shadow hold? And if faced with the darkness within, would you embrace it or let it consume you? This has been Mind's Abyss. Until next time, remember, the mirror never lies.